Hello and welcome back to This Podcast Takes Tokens. I'm Ryan.
I'm Derek.
There we go. Glad you're here. We are here to discuss all the things we grew up with and enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed them too. And before we get into today's episode, we're going to do our Retro Ramble. And what I asked you last week, Derek, was if you could live in any 80s movie, what would it be?
There, you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Go right ahead.
I picked Brewster's Millions. Are you familiar with Brewster's Millions?
Not a clue.
Not a clue. That's
Not
on the
a
list.
Okay.
This is a great movie. All right, so he's tasked with spending $30 million in 30 days with nothing to show for it at the end. And if he does this, he gets $300 million. I've watched this movie a few times. I think I got it worked out. I know exactly what I'm going to do and how I'm going to blow through my $30 million in 30 days and have nothing to show for it, and I'm going to have a great time doing it. Yeah, that's the one I would love to live in. That'd be a lot of fun, I think. Even if I don't get to the $30 million, it'd still be a great 30 days.
What would you do? Like, so you've got this all planned out. Like, what would you be doing? Yeah. Casino
so
or like what?
Lots of travel, like lots of, well, he tried casino, but he kept winning.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I don't want to take that risk.
Mm-hmm.
So I think lots of travel, first class, all the way, and buying my clothes as I go, and then donating them, some of the nicest clothes. Obviously eating really well, but then there's things like going to like sporting events. Like depending on when this is, like if this is around the time of the Super Bowl, I could make a big dent in that pretty quick with some Super Bowl tickets for me and like. Whoever wants to come and fly everybody out first class. Like, we're going to the Super Bowl, right? Like things like that. I think I could blow through it pretty quick and easy. But what movie you got? What's your plan?
Yeah, so man, that sounds really interesting. I want to piggyback off that real quick. Was there a caveat where like he couldn't donate it to like charity or something?
I don't remember. I think like there was a caveat, and it was like a limitation on how much per like category or something. I can't remember. It's been a while.
Okay.
But there was a little stipulation of something. Like because he couldn't just donate it all.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to watch that. I'm curious to see that now. Yeah. So mine, I really mulled over this, and initially I thought my answer was going to be Back to the Future.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think. What a fun world that would be to live in and just kind of follow Indy around on his adventures. I mean, it'd be dangerous, but
yeah,
it'd be a lot of fun though, I think, right? Like maybe not in the moment, but afterwards, like, wow, what an adventure we just had.
Thank God we survived that.
Thank God we survived that. Hang out with Marion.
Make sure you're on Indy's side for sure, because I don't think he loses anybody along the way.
No, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I always liked Indy, always have liked the movies and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then like going to Disney last year and seeing like the got that live show or whatever, and I don't know, be a lot of fun. I think Back to the Future, you just kind of, I mean, I'd do it to hang out with Doc and Marty, but like.
I considered Back to the Future as kind of like a backdoor way to be actually in any time period.
Oh, sure.
You got the time machine. And really, you're not in the 80s. You're in like, what, the 40s or the 50s whenever Indiana Jones is taking place.
30s.
40s? 30s, yes.
Yeah, 30s, yep.
Yeah.
Late 30s.
So, you kind of got, you're straddling two there, in a way. I had considered a few like that, as well as, Ghostbusters. I thought, that'd be kind of fun, But then I was like, I don't know, like having ghosts all the time around you, that might be kind of spooky. I don't know if I could handle that. That might be a little much. Just living in a horror film.
I think I could do the ghosts. It's like the gods and the demons that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah, the big baddies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the little one, like the guy running, like. Yeah, that's just, you set up a trap and you catch him. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Slimer. Maybe you get a little slimed, but he's relatively harmless.
Yeah, he just wants to
Gozer, on the other hand, that might be a little much.
Yeah. Zool. So funny. Anyway, let us know what your 80s movie is that you'd like to live in. We'd love to read it in the comments. And yeah, we will. So we're gonna get the show started. We're gonna talk about what we're gonna talk about right after we roll our intro here.
Here it goes. Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters because this podcast takes tokens.
You got to ask yourself, are we on episode 79 or episode 80? You really got to think about it and tell me, do you feel lucky, punk? We're talking Loaded Weapon. We're not talking Dirty Harry today. We're talking
I thought we were on episode 71.
Are we on 71?
We're on 71.
Oh, well, I was wrong.
I don't think you're feeling
80.
very lucky.
I'm not feeling very lucky. I thought we were on 80. Man. Well, anyway, thanks for screwing that up. So
that's the fun of it.
I'm not feeling lucky, apparently. So anyway, Loaded Weapon. I thought it would be fun to do, last week we did Lethal Weapon. I thought it'd be fun to do a movie and then do the spoof of the movie after that. And this still falls into our best buds. You know, you've got the Sam Jackson and Emilio Estevez, spoofing the roles from Lethal Weapon. Yep, Luger, that's right. Loogie. So I thought it'd be fun. So here we are. Let's just run down the numbers real quick before we get into the meat of this. Released February 5th, 1993. Had a budget of $8.2 million. You want to know take a guess what the U.S. opening was on this?
I'm actually shocked that the budget was that low. 8.2 million. That's pretty low.
8.2 million.
I'm guessing, you said February of 93?
February 5th, 93.
Okay, so this plays into a little bit of like some of the research I did. But I'm guessing it did fairly well. Although there is no sequel. There is no Loaded Weapon 2. But I feel like I'll cover why later. Why I think so, at least later. I'm guessing around 25 million.
Opening week?
Worldwide. Opening week?
Opening week.
5 million.
9.2 opening week.
Oh,
so it
okay.
made its money back opening week.
Yeah.
Worldwide gross, you said what? 25 million?
25, yeah.
51.2 million. So
wow. This did remarkably well.
Did fairly well for a spoof movie. Usually, I guess back then maybe there wasn't as many. I know we had like Airplane, and I don't remember when the Naked Gun
this
came
leads
out
right into
and all
my
that,
thing.
Okay.
We actually had 3 this year.
In 93?
Yeah, 4 actually. 4. Because you have Loaded Weapon 1, which came out in 93. You have Hot Shots Part 2, which came out in 93. You have Robin Hood Men in Tights, which came out in 93. And then you have Last Action Hero, which came out in 93. This year was ripe with the spoof movies. And I feel like killed the genre for a while. Because beyond the Austin Powers that we got in 97, really didn't have a whole lot of spoof movies. I mean, there were spoof movies that came out. Leslie Nielsen, like, that's like his bread and butter. So there was one almost every year from him alone. But outside of that, they kind of disappeared for a while, I think. At least commercially viable ones did. You know, obviously you got the straight to video and all that other fun stuff. But yeah, we had 4 of them this year.
Would you consider
which is crazy?
Last Action Hero a spoof movie? I mean, I think it's really more of a satire on the genre, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, more of a, yeah. You're right. You're right. It's a satire on the genre. It's not a straight up spoof movie. Straight up spoof movies. Okay, they got 3 of them. Mm-hmm. But Last Action Hero, the satire of it definitely put the nail in the coffin as far as like, okay, we're done making fun of this genre and we're moving on. In my opinion, at least.
Yeah. Well, so, no, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I can think of after the Austin Powers movies would probably be like the scary movies that were successful, like financially successful.
Yeah.
And then after that,
scary movies though.
Yeah.
Because they had like they had the whole like, scary movie, like insert genre movie thing here. Like they had the disaster movies. They branched out into like all of them. Like they did superhero movies and like all sorts of stuff over the years. And they kind of had their run on it too. But that was like, I think that was one production house doing all those blank movies, if you will. Whereas like this was a National Lampoon movie. Naked Gun was not a National Lampoon movie, nor was Hot Shots or Robin Hood Men in Tights or Last Action Hero for that matter. Austin Powers either. Like this was kind of like, really, other than the I guess he had Van Wilder, but other than Van Wilder, I think this is one of the last National Lampoon movies that I can recall, really.
That was any good.
That wasn't just like a straight to video thing or something. Yeah. Eddie's Christmas Vacation or something like that.
Yeah.
But because he had Van Wilder, and then I'm surprised we didn't get more after Van Wilder. Although they did try and like they rode that into the ground. Like there were several offshoots of the Van Wilder that they tried to do as like straight to video type stuff. Nothing as big, obviously. And they did a couple sequels, I think. But yeah, like other than that, like I really haven't heard much from National Lampoon. I'm kind of shocked by.
No, I feel like, this movie was kind of, well, you got Van Wilder, like you're saying, but this to me is kind of like the end of the National Lampoon's like
run
era. The run, and really like I had fun for the most part rewatching this movie, but it's not a great National Lampoon's movie. Like there's some funny parts in it, but it's they had that run where they were doing like Vacation, they had Animal House, they had European Vacation, just all these. Actually, I think Vegas Vacation came out after this. And
you're right.
As a kid, I enjoyed Vegas Vacation. I don't know if I would like it so much now because I know it was pretty toned down from their old movies. And that's kind of, I think, the trap that this fell into. They didn't go with an R rating, and
which I'm shocked by. It was pretty close.
It was. But I think that kind of hurts these National Lampoon's movies. If they don't do an R rating, like they can't be quite as, let's face it, they're built off. Yeah, they're built off just raunchy stuff and, just low-hanging fruit language, humor.
Yeah.
And they make it work, or they did at one point.
Yeah.
But,
I felt like this was a little like, the humor, like the writing on it, like the dialogue, I thought was really good and clever. Like there were certain like whenever they're talking to John Lovett's character and he's like, what, give me a name. And he's like, well, didn't your mom give you a name when you were born? Like that kind of stuff was great. I loved it throughout. Like all this just like quick witted, like back and forth banter type stuff. But there was a lot of just like over the top, slapsticky, goofy. Like it kind of felt like I don't know how to describe it. I've been trying to put my finger on it all week. I can't put my finger on it, but it's just like, it's the humor that I just don't enjoy. It's like, and I'm like, like it started out like that whole scene that it started out with. I honestly, throughout the movie, I don't think I laughed once, except for at maybe a couple of those little quips where it was just like, oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
But, it was not, like you said, it wasn't like terribly enjoyable to watch again, which is, for me, this movie, I remember enjoying it as a kid. Like I had a lot of fun.
That's why I wanted to rewatch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a great movie. I had this poster on my wall. I remember that poster with them at the firing range, and like, they got the target down range, and like he's covering his private areas in his face or whatever, and they're both on there, kind of like over the shoulder, looking back at the camera, like But yeah, that was on my wall because like I said, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the humor was great as a kid. I was like 12 when this came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is like 12-year-old humor for sure. But now, but I appreciate the dialogue a lot more now. I don't think I caught the dialogue before, but I catch it now, and I'm like, oh, this is snappy. It's written really well, like the dialogue is, but then they just like, it felt like they were, I think this is what it is. What I've been trying to put my finger on is they were like, okay, we need to make a joke out of absolutely everything, down to the wallpaper, the pictures hanging on the wall. Like there was one point where they're walking through, like they go to visit that Hannibal Lecter type character, and just like blink and you'll miss it. Like there was a cassette, a VHS on the wall, the torture wall of the Howard the Duck movie on VHS on the torture wall. Like that was like one of their implements of torture. Yeah. Just like little things like that. Like every like little way that they, and like some of the things that were hanging on the wall, like weaponry, were like jokes. Like every little thing was made into a joke. And after a certain point, you're like, okay, like you don't have to try so hard. Like it's just, that's what it is. It's trying way too hard. And they could have dialed it back a little bit and it would have been way better. Like it's just a exercise in less is more.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Give me fewer jokes, but make them like impactful, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there was a couple things, like there was a couple things I thought was funny. I laughed in a couple spots. There was things that were, you know, they put them out there to be funny. And I thought they were clever. Like you were saying with the Howard the Duck thing. Like, I thought they were clever, but I wasn't like, oh, that's so funny. Like, when they're walking through that hall for Hannibal Lecter, and, like, one of the jail cells is Mike Tyson. Like, I was like, that's kind of silly, you know? Yeah. But...
And it's topical stuff like that, too, that, like...
Yeah.
That kind of stuff was, like, I think Mike Tyson was getting in a lot of legal trouble at the time. Like, there were things like that they were just, like, touching on that right now you watch it and you're like... Wait, why was this funny? Like, I get that it's supposed to be funny, and it kind of is still like a little bit in context, but the joke has dated, and now I have to think about like why that was funny. But I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, you're right, but you're absolutely right, because like you go back to Vacation, like when you and I watched Vacation last year.
Yeah.
We laughed so hard watching that movie because most of those jokes in there, with the exception of Chevy Chase wandering through the desert, most of those jokes are still funny today because they're relevant today. Yeah. Like, you know, them walking into the cabin and they're like, oh, this one kind of smells like urine. He's like, you know, Edna, this is yours. Like, that could happen today and it's funny. But like you're saying, Mike Tyson, somebody that like... My stepson, 18 years old. If he watches this, he probably knows who Mike Tyson is, but he's not going to know the, like, why is he in jail? Yeah. Like, well, yeah, he bit somebody's ear off, and he was, like, in trouble for assaulting people. You know, like, there was all this stuff. Yeah. So, I don't know. Well, let's get into this. I'm curious what...
Well, one more on that. Well, before we move on, I think that's also kind of what they were going for with layering on so many jokes, is that, now some of them seem dated, but you still got all those other ones layered in there. So it's like, if you just dug into this metaphorical comedy with a spoon, sure, you're going to get like nails and screws in there, but you know, you're also going to get some like chocolate and, you know, granola and some nougat and maybe some other things that you actually do like. Yeah. So I feel like maybe that's what they were trying to do by peppering in like every possible joke that they could fit in. Yep. But yeah, it becomes too much.
Well, and I feel like it's just like, I don't know. We've all experienced this. Like, you know, there's somebody hanging out in your group or whatever, or you're at school and they say something that's funny and everybody laughs. and then they want to keep that up because they like, you know, oh, I made everybody laugh. So they keep telling jokes, and the jokes are less and less funny. And then the joke that they did say that was funny is now kind of ruined because they've, you know, just continually, they've gotten to the point where it's annoying now.
And they keep iterating on the same thing.
Yeah. And I think this movie kind of does that. But let's look at the ratings. Let's see what Rotten Tomatoes has said on this. So our tomato meter, you want to take a guess what the tomato meter was? So this is critics'
I'm going
reviews.
with somewhere in the mid-20s.
21%. So
okay, lower than I thought.
I looked at a couple of these reviews. One of them was, if I listened closely, I could hear faint snores. The more I think about it, they might have been mine.
I will be honest. I fell asleep the last 10 minutes of this movie and I had to watch. I had to wake up and watch it again.
There you go. Popcorn meter. So what do you think the viewers gave this movie?
Still go mid-20s.
50% on this.
What? No.
50%.
Wow. I guess it did like make $50 million worldwide.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, critics.
Yeah.
And, you know, the general audience tend to be pretty far apart. It's rare that they're aligned, but yeah, man, 50%. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see. Oh man.
Yeah. We don't give ratings when we watch when we talk about these movies. But if I had to give this a rating, it would be around where the tomato meter's at, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I will say, I don't want to just rag this movie a ton.
No,
I mean, well, it deserves being ragged in some aspects.
Yeah.
But
there was some fun to be had.
There was some fun to be had. I thought the casting was good. Emilio Estevez, I think, is always fun to watch. Sam Jackson is great in everything he does.
Sam Jackson is playing. He is not playing. He's in a different movie than all the rest of these people. He's not playing. He's playing it pretty straight, I feel like. Mm-hmm. Like, he's delivering funny lines. He's saying funny things, but he's playing fairly straight compared to Emilio Estevez and the rest of the cast, which is interesting. Like, but yeah, like he just, like you said, he's great. I really enjoyed it. He's definitely not doing Danny Glover, which I was kind of expecting. Like, they kind of set it up like it's Loaded Weapon or like it's Lethal Weapon. Mm-hmm. And Estevez sticks to kind of that role, like a childish version of that role. Yeah. But Sam Jackson goes in a completely different direction, and he is doing his own thing for his own movie. He is definitely not doing Danny Glover in Loaded Weapon or Lethal Weapon. I'm going to keep getting those two mixed up.
Nah, that's okay. They're close enough, and that's the intentionality of the whole thing. But I think that like Sam was delivering lines like that. We saw part of it when we watched the trailer, like when he's talking to that other detective, and he's, gosh, got an itchy scalp and everything. So he hands him the head and shoulders. And then when he comes back and he's like, hey, boss, I think this is working, or I think it's tingling. He says,
it's
that
tingling.
Means it's working.
Supposed to do that.
Like, I don't know. Like, that was funny to me. But one of the parts that I laughed out loud at was when they're in that house, and in the background, when they walk into the room where Whoopi Goldberg's at, the other police the other police officers, you can hear them in the background. They're like laughing, and they're like, ha ha, limbo. And they're kind of like limboing under the tape. I chuckled at that. And then I laughed in that same scene where they were talking about how Whoopi Goldberg died and how they think it was a suicide. And then when they roll her over, he's like, her face. And he's like, well, she must have surprised herself.
She caught herself by surprise.
Caught herself by surprise. Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. I laughed at that.
I will say, like, a lot of the stuff that was happening in the background, I found to be way funnier than, like, what was happening, like, what they were trying to get across on the foreground. Yeah. Maybe that was on purpose. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely, like, there was a lot of things in the background that I was like, picking up on that I thought was pretty funny. And I would kind of want to watch again just to watch the background stuff. Like, there were things that were paying off. Like, like they're going through the police station and the sketch artist is like, all right, ma'am, can you describe him? And she's like describing and he's doing it like a Mr. Potato Head thing. And then like 2 scenes later, you see a guy with a Mr. Potato Head being arrested in the background.
It wasn't me. You got the wrong guy.
You got the wrong guy. It's like little things like that where you're like, okay, like, this is like they're calling back to a lot of things, but it's often in the background. You would miss it if you weren't like paying attention. Yeah, but I thought that was funny. Or like whenever Emilio Estevez's brother, Charlie Sheen, shows up as the
valet.
Valet, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and he's taking it, and I'm like, this is funny because like he's got Hot Shots Part 2 comes out the same year, probably like within months of each other. And then I'm trying to remember if Emilio Estevez did a cameo in Hot Shots, and I can't remember or not. But I'm curious whenever we go back if he did.
I know. Now they did kind of call to that a little bit because I think it's Sam Jackson that says something about like, you think you're a hot shot or something like that in that scene.
Oh, okay.
He's talking to Emilio Estevez. He's not talking to Charlie Sheen, but they do kind of call it. And that was one thing like I did like about this. Like I like how they sprinkled. It wasn't just a Lethal Weapon spoof. Like they sprinkled different movies in, and some of them fell flat. Like the Hannibal Lecter thing, I'm like, that wasn't like super.
Like that didn't make
any
sense, really.
No. The Basic Instinct scene I thought was funny, where they're just kind of everyone's like, oh, I mean, it wasn't like
it was funny
rolling on the floor.
Yeah, it was funny commentary on like like how men would react at the time. Like that's they like that scene in Basic Instinct. That's the only reason I think most people went and saw that movie. I'm pretty sure. Sure.
Yeah.
But
and they even put that little thing down there when the beaver's in the chair and they put like gratuitous, whatever
beaver shot or whatever.
Yeah. And I thought that was clever.
Yeah. I liked whenever there was a scene where what were they doing? I can't remember what they were doing, but they were talking, and there was subtitles at the bottom, and they tripped over the subtitles or something, or walked through them, and they just kind of like scattered. And I thought that was pretty funny. That was pretty clever. It was a good use of like breaking the fourth wall a little bit, which was kind of fun. Yeah.
Yep. Did you see the first scene when Emilio Estevez walks into the convenience store and that kid's got the turbo chug? It's that big massive, big giant thing. That was silly. When he's reading the magazine.
We had a cameo. Did you see all the cameos? Like, what cameo maybe stood out the most for you?
Well, so there was 2, but okay. Which one stood out the most? Had to have been the Bruce Willis one, obviously. But Corey Feldman. Feldman was in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And Phil Hartman.
Yep.
Yes. That was it was fun. I thought it was funny to have Corey Feldman. I completely forgot that he was in this movie.
I had to.
Little cameo. I like it re-engaged me with the movie whenever he came on. I was like, oh yeah, hey, it's Corey Feldman. Go figure. Crazy.
I thought he was going to be in there just a little bit longer. Like, it'd been forever since I've
seen it. It was quick,
but I'm like, oh, it's a cameo, so I guess it's fine. It's just
I think he had like 2 lines. Like, he really didn't do much, but that's funny. It's a little touchy. And then the thing with Bruce Willis, that was my favorite scene. Little bit with Bruce Willis where he's like, he pops up with a little white shirt, and then they're like, "Is this 813 Pacific Coast Highway?" And he's like, "No, it's down the road. This is 814. Thanks for blowing up my house."
Really sorry. It's fine. It's fine.
That one had me laughing out loud. Yeah. That was my favorite scene, rewatching it for sure. And I just thought that was I could watch that over and over again. It was so great. And it was just Bruce Willis.
It was. Perfectly
doing Bruce Willis. Like, it couldn't have asked for better. That was the highlight for me.
I guess I was reading I think it wasn't in the States. It was in some different countries where they were releasing this at.
Yeah.
They put Bruce Willis on the poster
Oh,
to
really?
sell tickets, even though he's just, in it for 30 seconds.
So they cheated 50 million.
They did, yeah. They may have, yeah.
I'd be curious the domestic versus the worldwide then. But
yeah,
so
I don't know.
what was maybe your favorite scene now that I've covered mine?
I still think it's in the it's in that house when they go into Whoopi Goldberg's house. I just all the stuff that's going on in there. I think most of that was funny. The one thing I didn't find very funny was when he walks back through the doorway and there's like all the tape on there. I'm like, that kind of fell flat with me.
Yeah.
But I thought that was I liked that whole scene. Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
That was the Bruce Willis scene for sure.
Yeah.
That was
the Bruce
hands
Willis
down
scene.
my favorite one.
Yeah.
I like how they call back to the Whoopi Goldberg thing later on. Whenever they're like, do you recognize this woman? And he pulls out like a T-shirt and he lays it across the desk. And it's got her picture on it and everything like that. And he's like, nah, she doesn't look familiar. And he goes, okay, what about now? And then like they wheel over the gurney and they lift it up and it's like her dead body there. He's like, well, still not recognizing her.
What I thought was funny about that scene is when he lays the T-shirt out. It wasn't the T-shirt necessarily, but the guy's like, he points to it. He's like, is that her? And Sam Jackson's like, no, that's her picture.
Yes. It's more of that clever writing. That just like
it is.
That quippy back and forth. It was great. I'm telling you.
And there was with Estevez and I can't remember what her name is, the female love interest that was supposed to be Sharon Stone or whatever. Anyway,
Kathy
Ireland. What's that? What was her name?
Kathy Ireland.
Kathy Ireland. There we go.
Destiny.
Yes. They have their time together in his TARDIS sort of.
Yes,
that knows
the ridiculous.
Doctor Who will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And like the clock flips 1 minute, and then they're just they're smoking or whatever. But then it like 5 minutes later they're outside, and she's like, hey, next time can we make love instead of just smoking cigarettes in bed? And you're like, like that kind of made me chuckle a little bit.
Speaking of them smoke, have any of them ever smoked cigarettes before? Because I don't know if you noticed throughout the whole movie, every time anybody's smoking a cigarette, they look like it's the first time they've ever been handed a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like it's the most ridiculous and absurd cigarette smoking.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning cigarette smoking by any means, but if we're doing it for a camera, can we at least like fake it like we know what we're doing a little bit?
Yeah.
It just was so awful. But maybe it was on purpose. Purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think about the music in this? That was one thing that I thought like landed for me was just like that 80s like
lots of 80s like hair metal
pop just the I don't
synth
know just
rock
like the
or whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, that really hits the tone of what
absolutely
this genre is kind of about.
Yeah, because that's all like these like the loaded lethal weapon had that as like their score even really was just kind of like this like guitar heavy like whatever soundtrack they had going on with the music that they were using as well, and as well as like other action movies at the time, like even Last Action Hero which has a killer soundtrack, utilizes the same thing, and I would agree. Yeah, pretty good music throughout. I don't know if they had a soundtrack for this one or not that matched it, but it was pretty good.
I don't know. I think it was just like that synth rock score. I don't remember there being actually songs. Or was there a song? I know Lethal Weapon had the Eric Clapton song at the end of there. But I don't remember if Loaded Weapon, if they actually had a song for that or not.
Well, they got they had You Really Got Me. We Can Work It.
Okay.
I forgot about the Popeye. Popeye popped up for a second whenever they were on the docks. So they got Popeye the Sailor Man.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Love Kills and Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, they don't have much, but that's what they got.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Bohemian Rhapsody, that like talking about
the end of it.
hitting other genres. They even made fun of. Well, I don't know if they're making fun of or the whole thing at the end with Bohemian Rhapsody, where they're doing like the Wayne's World thing, which Wayne's World came out the year before. Were they making fun of that, or is that more of a, this was a cool scene, we should do the same thing again?
That's the way I felt. I felt like it was just an homage to that scene in Wayne's World. Because that scene
like,
is
this is
so
a great
iconic.
way to end a movie.
Like, yeah.
That was funny. I wasn't expecting that. I completely forgot that they even did that. It came up at the very end, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
and
that. That was a good
I liked how what was his name? John Lovitz kept coming back. Like he's supposed to be dead, and he keeps coming
killed
back
a couple times. I thought
he does. Yes. And like they're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I'm." What did he say? It was something about like you're supposed to come back in the sequel or something like that. But, yeah.
He's like, this isn't the sequel.
That's it. Yeah. I thought his character was fun. I didn't think Shatner really was great in this. I didn't find a lot of humor with Shatner. Tim Curry, I kind of, I thought he was pretty good, especially that opening scene where like Whoopi Goldberg doesn't realize, like she doesn't realize it's not a girl, like a Girl Scout, until he like pulls the wig off.
Well, like even whenever like he first starts skipping up to the door, it's like a little girl skipping.
It is, yeah.
Until like you see him from the front, which that whole bit I'm watching it and I'm like, come on, now this is just like, this is so low hanging fruit, and then he busts out with that "weird news girls," and I don't know what it is about that, but it makes me chuckle a little bit. It's just the way he delivers it. I don't know, but I was just like, okay, yeah, that's Tim Curry. He's fun.
Yeah,
I can get down with that.
Yeah,
Shatner, I kind of I enjoyed his villain. Like it was over the top. It was campy, but it was right. I mean, he was dialed into the movie. He understood the movie. He knew what was happening here. And I feel like he played the perfect part for this movie. In the other movie, absolutely. Like, this does not work. But I feel like in this movie, he camps it up just to the right amount that it works for the villain of the film. Personally.
Yeah. I guess so. I don't know. I just didn't... I don't know really what it was with me. Like, it just didn't hit with me. But
that's fine. It was definitely like, it was on the line. I could see like going one way or the other pretty easily. But yeah, for me, I thought it worked. I couldn't imagine it being done any other way by anybody else, really.
Yeah.
Who could you put there?
I don't know who I would put there. Yeah, I really don't know. Like, just trying to think of it right now. They could. I think Martin Sheen could have done good in that. Had all the Sheen family in there.
Oh yeah, he got them all in there. That's true. Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe.
So their Captain Doyle.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the captain?
He was
from
the
Last
captain
Action
in
Hero?
Last Action Hero. Yes,
that's what I thought.
He's playing the exact same part too.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure. I thought maybe this is the same character. I went back and looked on IMDb. It's a different character, but I'm like, they could have named him the same character and just had a shared universe or something, because he is definitely, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why, I don't know. But I seem to remember he played this same character in a couple of movies, or maybe I'm just remembering it that way. But
I think I'm looking at his IMDb right now, and it's been a long time since I've watched this, so I don't remember. But he is in 48 Hours. So I'm wondering if he plays kind of the same character in 48 Hours.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 48 Hours, so I don't know. I found it interesting, and I went on a bit of a deep dive. Well, I tried to go on a deep dive for about an hour last night while I'm sitting up watching TV with the wife and everything, and I couldn't find anything substantial, anything to help me, or any other mention of this. But I thought it was really odd that Sam Jackson's character uses high karate. Like, he references it and he uses high karate in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, is Frozone in The Incredibles, he also reaches for the high karate and slaps on a little high karate. And I thought, well, that's interesting that he does the same thing in both movies. Is there like a thing with Sam Jackson and high karate? And I'm trying to like deep dive into like, does he have a thing with high karate or something? Like, what is this? Why is it like it's used twice? Like, that's not just a coincidence. There's something going on here. I couldn't find anything. I kept getting off on tangents of like Reddit listings or whatever about different karate movies that Sam Jackson should be put in. Like, should he play Afro Samurai? Should he be in the next Karate Kid movie? Should he show up as like this long tangent about him being some boxer in the Karate Kid universe that gets displaced by Daniel LaRusso somehow and seeks him out for revenge and ends up uppercutting him in the end or something? Like, these long tangents about him being in these different karate movies, but absolutely nothing about him and the aftershave or cologne high karate. Yeah. Which I just found a little odd that it shows up at least twice. I think there was another movie, I couldn't find it, where he uses or references high karate as well. But again, like, every time I go to search for it, it just like led me down the wrong tangents. I could not find anything else on it. But if anybody has any information, I would greatly appreciate it. I feel like there's something here. I just can't put my finger on it. And it's been bugging me all week. That's a little precursor to my stale popcorn, I should say. Or not a precursor. It's a little bonus stale popcorn for you all.
We need some internet sleuths out there to...
That's right.
Do a little more research
Tell us.
on this. So.
Tell me. I just need to know. I need this brainworm out.
So you mentioned earlier that you thought that you had a good idea of why they never made a sequel to this. What did you think that is?
Well, I think with all the movies that came out this year, I feel like it got overdone. It got done to a point where it was just done. It was oversaturated. There was no, and I don't think there were any in the next year. I think it's just like, they look back on the year and they're like, okay, we did 3, maybe 4, depending on how you look at it, spoof movie, big blockbuster spoof movies. Well, I don't know about blockbuster, but mainstream spoof movies. We've run the gambit on this. Let's move on to something else. And I just kind of feel like that's where it went. Like, I just feel like they didn't do a sequel because of that. And because, Sam Jackson ended up going off and doing other things. And, Emilio Estevez, he kind of disappeared a little bit. Like, he did Mission Impossible and then really didn't hear much from him.
Yeah, he did the Mighty Ducks movies after that.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
But
he did the Mighty Ducks movies.
After the Mighty Ducks movies, well, I gotta remember when there was Young Guns 2 in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah. So maybe he was just going for more of a serious thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I feel like they just they were like, nah, this genre's done. We're good. Or maybe it was the scary movies that came out and they're like, oh, okay, we're pivoting away from action. Now we're going to go horror movies or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like the oversaturation this year, specifically of action spoof movies, just did it. No, it's just too many. There was just too many of them. Yeah.
Yeah. From what I could tell, because they had this, like, they had it lined up to do a second one.
Oh, really?
Like they make the joke about it, at the end. Well, of course, Loaded Weapon 1. Yeah. But they make the joke about it at the end where Sam Jackson tells the captain, like, I'll keep working if I get to be...
If he's my partner.
Yeah, if he's my partner. And then they walk off and they're like, sequel, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess they'd even had like a poster made for the second one. Like, yeah. But they felt like the movie underperformed, which I'm like, you made $52 million on an $8.5 million budget. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
How much did y'all spend on ads and stuff?
Yeah.
What was everybody's cut after the fact? I mean, maybe they all had points that were just like ridiculous. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like they could have done another one with it. I don't know what What do you think they would have spoofed on? Like, do you think they would have just continued with the lethal weapon thing, or do you think they may have shifted to kind of another, like,
Well, I feel like
48
your
hours
bones.
or Beverly Hills Cop or something like that?
I think in your bones, your lethal weapon, and you had the third lethal weapon that came out. When did Lethal Weapon 3 come out? That was around the mid 80s, right? I can't remember. Lethal Weapon 2 was in 89, 4 was in 98, 3 was in 92. So
92.
yeah, because
Year before
Levitz's
this,
character was the Pesci character.
Mm.
So yeah, that was the year before. It was a little while. I don't know. I guess yeah, I think at their bones it would stay Lethal Weapon. But I think they would have probably, and maybe this is part of why it died off. I can't think of any action movies from around that time. I can't think of any. I'm not saying that there aren't any. I just on the top of my head, I can't think of any real quick that they would have spoofed.
Yeah.
But I imagine they would have found things like there's other. I mean, they got the Naked Gun movies. They continued after this. And they were essentially the same thing. So yeah, they would have found stuff. But yeah, I think at its bones it would have been Lethal Weapon, but with other plots of other like they did here. They would have just intertwined a bunch of other movies together to make whatever they wanted to make.
Would it have? Do you think it would have tanked?
Yeah. I don't think it would have done as good on the second one. I mean, these comedies rarely do well as sequels. How would you have seen it go down a second one?
I think that they would have done something. I think they would have done something. They would have had to have stuck with like the buddy cop thing. They would have. I think they would have leaned into maybe like some Die Hard stuff some more. Because Die Harder, and then Die Hard with a Vengeance would have come out by those times. I think A Vengeance came out in what?
94, 95, something, right?
Yeah. So those were popular. They could have done something with like T2, I think. They may have done something with that. But yeah, you're right, though. In the bones of it, they still would have been Lethal Weapon. So they would have had to have stuck with that some. I wish we could have seen a Carl Winslow cameo here. But we didn't get it. Thank you.
It's definitely
fun to see him.
They missed the mark there for sure. Like
Reginald
they should have had, Reginald L. Johnson as a cop. Absolutely. Even in just like the background, they brought in Scotty from Star Trek for that one little joke. They could have brought him in. Man, yeah, you're right. That's what it's missing. 100%. Okay. To change subjects, if you will, a little bit, or
go for it.
Trajectory here. You got Kathy Ireland in here, right? Kathy Ireland's an it girl from the time. She was like a supermodel, and she did a lot of comedy and movies and stuff like that. You also got Cindy Crawford around this time. It was very much so a Kathy Ireland or Cindy Crawford type of time. So I'll propose to you, Kathy Ireland or Cindy Crawford. Early 90s.
Kathy Ireland.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. Now,
I don't know what it is.
One that they did have in here, I don't know if she was ever a supermodel. Denise Richards was in here.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, blink and you miss it. Yeah. Didn't have a speaking role or anything.
Yeah.
Was she one of the ones that got caught trying to run away, or was she one of the legs at the bottom, I wonder?
I don't know. It never showed.
It doesn't
pretty
show
silly, though.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that works out with the two legs, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm same. I maybe it's the redhead. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Gasoline in a cookie factory? What sense does that make?
It's one of those things, right? They've always like
giant drum of
gas
gasoline.
cans. Yeah. Yeah.
Not even just like flammable materials. It's just gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we are definitely blowing this up at the end.
Yes. Now, I think something. So what they should have. I think they missed the mark on what What was Emilio Estevez's character's name? I can never remember. That wasn't
Colt.
Luger, was it? Colt.
It was
Colt. That's it. Colt.
Because he's younger.
That's it. Yeah. Colt's, like the whole thing with his dog. Like, he was all upset about his dog. I think it would have been funnier if they would have held that out the entire movie, and then at the end, they reveal that it's a dog the whole time.
Yeah.
I think that would have hit better instead of, once they show it
right away.
Yeah, and you're like, like it was a little silly then, but then it just kind of overstays its welcome, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the reason why they did that is because they thought, and I can see the writers thinking, okay, if we let the audience in on the joke that it's a dog, then when everybody else is giving him funny looks about the way he's talking about what they think is a girl, the audience is going to know. Whereas, you're right, it should have been, if it was written today, it would have 100% not been revealed to the very end, so we could be right there alongside everybody else going, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
What a weird relationship he must have had. And then find out it's a dog at the very end.
Yep.
And then the next time you watch it, you're in on the joke. But that's just one of those things that, like, just evolution of writing, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, so Best Buds Summer Rewind. When did they become best buds?
Can I say when he walked into him in the bathroom?
You think that's the moment for you?
I guess. I really don't know here, right?
Yeah, like they seem pretty like they're like not against each other, but antagonistic almost throughout most of the movie, for sure. I think it's got to be in that last scene somewhere, like right around the time where he saves him, where Luger saves Colt. Because he overcomes his like whatever he had thing with him, where he's just like
that was funny. That the physical comedy of that I thought was funny when he's trying to fire and he's doing that. Just watching Sam Jackson do that was comical.
Somewhere in there, that's my guess. It's right around that moment, I think. Definitely by the time he goes, as long as Colt can be my partner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I've hit everything I needed to hit on this one.
I'm done with this movie. I had a note. I had a note at the end. My last note. Wow, that was bad.
It's not the mask. It's not the mask. I will give you that.
It's not
I would
the
watch
mask.
this over the mask 100%.
Yeah. But this did not live up to my memory of this movie at all.
No.
At all.
It was a fine rewatch. Like if you loved it growing up, maybe go back and rewatch it and catch some of the other jokes that you didn't catch growing up. But don't go into it expecting a whole lot, for sure.
Which it's the writing. That's what it is. Like the writing is like it's good and it is. It's good and it's bad because they had the cast there. I mean, Estevez, Jackson, like Tim Curry. I mean, I didn't care for William Shatner very much, but you liked William Shatner. I mean, there's a great cast to this, and I don't know. It just didn't hit the mark with me like it used to.
It was just too dense. It was too much. Like you said, it's the friend that's just trying too hard. It was just a little more. Like if they would have brought it down like 20%, it probably would have been fine. But like they just couldn't stop themselves. I mean, too many cooks in the kitchen, maybe too many writers in the writing room. I don't know.
Yeah,
but because like even the opening scene with the convenience store workers, like there's like that early 90s like undertone racism thing going on with that, and then there's all the convenience store joke stuff going on, and they're layering it on, and I'm like, okay, like it's sick. I'm not looking forward to the rest of this movie already.
Yeah.
But then like there's a kernel of something in there where he gets, like he turns around to like, hey, you're welcome. I saved you. And all the convenience store guys are like, you just blew up our shop, dude. Like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
And they're clearly like upset. And I'm like, that right there, that's the joke. Like that's the kernel of the joke that they started with, but then they layered on all this other garbage and it just got lost. And I feel like that's this whole movie. Is they had really great jokes. And then they just were like, okay, but and yes, and they just kept anding on top of, and it just got too much.
If I could go in here and just cut out, like, throw 80% of these jokes on the floor, I think it would have been just a much better movie. Much better movie.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to next week because I think that'll be a good palate cleanser.
Yes.
But with that, I'm done. I've tapped out on.
Oh man, I tapped out on this.
I'm unloaded
watching it. So yeah. Well, let's
stale popcorn or gum under the seat.
Let's do stale popcorn. You got any stale popcorn from?
I do have an interesting one.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned this during our Encino Man episode.
Okay.
I don't think I did because I also brought up the thing about Dom DeLuise's son being in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sean Astin, as we know, big in the movie. I think he was head on the marquee there, or maybe he was just under Pauly Shore. I don't know. Maybe they paired it. I don't know. Whatever.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Sean Astin is related to Gomez Addams.
Really?
Yes. His mom, Patty Duke, we know his mom, Patty Duke, and his dad, his biological father, is a man named Michael Yell, who Patty was married to for about a month, and soon after, they quickly annulled. However, Sean was born. Soon after Sean was born, she married John Astin, who later adopted Sean Astin by the age of 3. John Astin played Gomez Addams in the 60s Addams Family TV show. And his adopted father. Also his namesake, where he gets Astin from.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Wow. So I thought I'd drop that a little bit on you. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
I came across that and I was like, he's Gomez Addams' son. Just about. Yeah. That's crazy. And Patty Duke, which was just like shocking. I don't know. Nepo babies. They always amaze me.
Yeah. Man.
What you got?
I didn't have much. It was really just a comment that I meant to say last week and I didn't, but probably won't bring a whole lot of conversation. But gosh, there's just something about, so we did Lethal Weapon last week. There is just something about 80s LA that just makes you want to go live in it, right? Like you see a lot of these. Man, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe it's the,
like I said,
the romanticized
not going to inspire a whole lot of conversation. But what'd you say?
I said maybe it's the romanticized Hollywood side of it because, like, you see some movies, and they show it and it kind of looks a little, I don't know, glamorous almost. But then, like, you really start looking at it, and there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of drugs. It's a little bit of a rough area. I mean, it's I'd say akin to like New York. Like they're often like yin and yang of each other, or not yin and yang, but very much so like East Coast, West Coast versions of one another. And New York at this time wasn't the prettiest of cities either. But when you frame it in a movie, it can be made to look really pretty.
Sure, that's what I'm saying.
So that's just showing one side of the street.
Let's just say 80s movie LA.
All right, I'll give you that.
I don't know, but no, I know it's like. I've got a buddy that lives out in LA, and I don't hear a lot of good stuff about it when I talk to him. So.
Yeah. Well, that could also be the Midwest, so who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Who knows? All right.
I'll say my mom lives out in that way, and she has good things to say. So.
Yeah, she does. But she's in a
little
better.
removed from it.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, what you got for Gum Under the Seat?
Gum Under the Seat. We got several comments. All from Will Ford 81 over on YouTube. I know Will go through spurts where he'll listen to a bunch of our podcasts at once, and I love it. We always get some good stuff from him. So on the Goofy movie episode that we did a couple weeks ago. He said, I rewatched this with my daughters the other day. I had not seen it in probably a couple decades. This is such a different kind of Disney movie. Absolutely. I think that makes this one unique and endearing. And what makes this one unique and endearing is the family aspect of these characters. He said, who would have thought we would ever see Goofy and Pete as parents dealing with teenagers?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, you're right there. He also said, I like the little Easter egg they hid in the movie, like Max's Mickey phone and the Ariel light switch, which I'd responded to that. I was like, I don't remember where that was at. And it was in the
Neptune
Hotel. Yep.
The whole room was themed, which we've been to Disney and we did, I think it's Art of Animation Hotel there in Disney World. And they have rooms that are themed after different movies. I think Finding Nemo is one of them, and it's aquatic themed. And we didn't stay in one of those, but I think my wife did whenever she went with her parents one time. And I was asking her, I was like, that's what I imagine the Nemo room is like.
Fish in the
like,
water
bed. No. She said no, but I imagined it.
That'd be worth the stay right there. Yeah. There was fish in the waterbed. Which those waterbeds, my gosh. I remember having one of those things.
You had a waterbed.
Oh my gosh. They were... I don't think I could sleep on one of those now. Like, no back support, nothing.
I remember whenever you would, like, you wouldn't be home. Like, you'd be off, like, after, whenever you were going with you're staying with your mom or something like that. And it was just me with Dad. I'd go sleep in your room because I like the waterbed.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm with you. I don't know how that would work out today. My mom and stepdad had a waterbed for a long time. I think until they moved out to California, they had a waterbed. I can't imagine having a waterbed. That doesn't seem like the most comfortable thing in the world. What is the point of the waterbed? Like, you don't see waterbeds anymore. Like, I go to furniture stores now. I've not seen a waterbed in the wild in a long time. Nobody wants them.
I mean, that thing pops.
Oh, yeah.
Even you get a little prick in that thing.
Yep.
That's it. And then filling it up. I remember when, like, one time we moved, we had to drain it.
Yeah.
Then we want to fill the thing up, and you got to bring the dang garden hose in from outside. You got to fill the thing up because you can't lift it after you've filled it. So you can't do that outside. Yeah. There's some things from the 90s that just need to stay back
80s.
In the 90s. 80s, yes.
Yeah.
Waterbed is one of those. To continue on with Will's comment, he said, my favorite part was your discussion about Pete's wife. So we kind of discussed where we thought Pete's wife went. He said, I like the idea that she was so much worse than Pete and that he left her. Said, I now imagine that this had such an impact on him that it softened his hard edges just a bit, and now he wants to focus on raising his kid to turn out better than he did. He said, am I overthinking the backstory for Goofy characters? Definitely.
Definitely not.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No, never. Just keep them under your thumb, Goof.
Yes. Let's see here. Our Star Wars episode for A New Hope that we did. Will said, since I was a kid, I have loved R2-D2 and, believe it or not, was also fascinated by Jabba the Hutt. There is something magical about how these characters are brought to life through practical effects and puppetry. I completely agree. As an adult, I have loved Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, both in the prequels and the excellent Obi-Wan Kenobi series. That is right. If you've not watched that series, it is great. Also, I don't mind the changes Lucas made when it comes to the ships and explosions being CGI. Those legitimately look better. He said, however, Han's head twitch is garbage, and anything done with CGI life forms does not look good. He gives the example of the lounge singer in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. He said that's scene ruining. I would agree. Like, thinking back on that, I know when we did the episode, we kind of gave the CGI a rough time.
Yeah.
I would say with the explosions and stuff, that's probably there's probably honestly explosions in there and with the new stuff that I don't realize is CGI, like, or that they've enhanced it or something. But yeah, Will, you're right. Like CGI life forms, like they have not really done those. I did comment back on that, and I think there's a couple scenes not in the prequels, but one that they fixed. I don't want to say fixed, but they've added in to the originals later with Jabba being CGI. Like I think maybe in A New Hope, it looked bad back in the 90s when they re-released them, but now, because they're constantly updating those, now it doesn't look so bad. I think it looks okay. I still think Jabba looks the best as a puppet, especially in Return of the Jedi. But anyway,
I would stale popcorn this, and I would say that yes, there are enhancements that do make the films better, like color grading, cleaning up some things, maybe adding some background character, filling out the background a little bit more. I'm fine with that. But yeah, like if they're adding scenes that weren't there before, adding characters to the storyline, or adjusting, like with the head twitch, how the story goes, but I can do without that. Absolutely, 100%. But yeah, like I would also just kind of like to see the original in its entirety once in my life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree that the enhancements do make it a better experience. Like it's definitely like you watch it and you have to remind yourself this movie was made in the late 70s, in like 76, 77 this movie was made, and it looks fantastic because of the work they've done on it. Absolutely. But yeah, like it's just whenever they change the storyline, I'm like, I can do
like
that.
I get when they went back and they re-released him, they put Jabba in that scene with when Han's talking to him in A New Hope.
Yeah, for continuity.
They put because the guy they had, like Jabba in the original New Hope, was just a dude.
Yeah.
And they had to go back and they had to fix that. That's fine. I get it. But yeah.
Was that scene included in the original New Hope, or did they add it in after the fact with CGI?
I don't know. That is a good question. Maybe it was deleted.
Original.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen stills of that scene with the guy, and he's dressed up like he's in costume. He doesn't. It's not just some random dude sitting there.
It looks like a walrus trader or something from the turn of the century Alaska.
Yeah. Piggybacking on the end of this comment, I thought it'd be fun to answer this. Will asked us, he said, I want to hear your thoughts on some of the best CGI you've ever seen in a film.
Oh man, on the spot.
I would have to say that I think Terminator 2 special effects still hold up pretty well today. Like I still think those look good.
Those look amazing. For sure. Oh, I was thinking like more current stuff, but
well, yeah, I mean, but like what I'm saying is, I think T2, still you can hold it up. Yeah, I think you could even put it against a lot of the stuff nowadays, and it still looks better.
And they haven't done enhancements on that. Can you imagine if James Cameron got to go back and do enhancements on that?
Oh my gosh,
that could look fantastic. That could look amazing. But no, he's off busy doing Avatar movies.
Yeah.
Instead of a special edition of Terminator again. Oh, they had like 5 different special editions of Terminator 2, I think, since then.
Yeah.
But oh man, off the top of my head, I can't think. I know we watched Pixels recently again. That had pretty good CGI, if I remember correctly. And like, there's a lot of CGI characters in that. And, but it was like they were doing video game characters in the real world. So like, of course, like cartoonish characters, whenever they're supposed to be cartoonish, look good in CGI. As far as like practical CGI, I can't think of it. Well, whenever they did Mandalorian and had young Luke come on, that looked pretty good.
Yes,
Or,
those do look really good.
I forget which Terminator movie. One of the more recent Terminator movies. They CGI'd in a young Arnold Schwarzenegger as a T-800 in the factory. And he like did battle. And then there was even the one where he did battle with like a younger version of himself. That didn't look as good, but the scene where he's in the factory and everything, that looked pretty good, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the top, I'm gonna stale popcorn this one probably.
Sure.
This is gonna bug me, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be rattling around in my head for a couple weeks.
Yeah. To be continued. We'll definitely we'll definitely think some more on that. Oh yeah, the last one that he had here was on a Rush Hour episode. He said that I used to watch this in Rush Hour 2 in college constantly. Jackie's athletic choreography was always such a delight, and his pairing with Chris Tucker was hilarious. Jackie Chan's calm demeanor and broken English played so well against Tucker's loud, overconfident personality. They just made the perfect odd couple. Yep.
Agreed.
Completely agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be curious if Owen Wilson is a better pairing with him or not whenever we go back and do High Noon or Shanghai Noon.
Shanghai Noon. Yep.
Yeah.
I did ask Will that. I commented back. I said, well, $1 million question. What is it? What's better, Tucker and Chan or Owen Wilson and Chan? And he had said that's tough, but Owen Wilson is definitely easier to listen to over long periods than Chris Tucker is. So,
this is true.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris, but it's true.
Yeah. But that's all the comments. Some people,
they turn it on. They turn it on.
They do. Oh, they do. They do. Turn it on hard.
All right.
That's all I got to see. You got any comments? Leave us comments on our YouTube channel or leave us reviews, and we'll definitely read them.
Send us an email. It's in the show description. Absolutely. We love to hear from y'all. Well, with that, I guess I will give you my retro ramble for next week.
Yep.
Before we get going too long on today's episode. All right. This is going to be really simple, maybe deceptively simple. I don't know. We'll see what we come up with for next week. What is the best and worst superhero power you've seen?
One and the same, or I can do two different?
Two different ones.
Oh, okay.
One and the same.
Okay.
Two different ones.
Okay.
What is the best, what is the worst?
Okay.
Yeah, so come back with two next week, and we'll discuss them.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Well, until next week, remember, sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. We'll see y'all next week. Be kind and rewind.
This Podcast Takes Tokens is a Clay Street production.